Moment, I'm live. Hi, everybody, and it's been a few days since I did my last video, but events have happened. Boris Johnson has left as leader of the Conservative Party, although he still clings on as Prime Minister. And as we head forwards, I can't help but think about the leadership campaign as it's panning out at the moment. This afternoon, I watched the catch by Kemi Badenoch, and she is the one black candidate amongst the other uh, six minority ethnics who were standing for this office out of the total 10. By the way, as we go on, there are roughly 7% of the UK population are Asian, roughly 3% of the UK population are of Afro-Caribbean background. So it's extraordinary that more than 50% of the leadership candidates are coming from these minority ethnic backgrounds. And for the Tory party, this is absolute, in fact, for any party in the United Kingdom, this is a stonking great record. But I didn't know what to call this post because people are so fragile that when you hit them with the truth, they run, for the hills. So I stole this line from Kemi Badenoch's campaign speech, which is that the truth shall set us free. And there's a lot of wisdom in that expression. Now, first of all, I'm going to talk about virtue signaling, exceptionalism, denial of the truth, and finally, the fact that unless we're prepared to face the truth, we can't claw ourselves out of the hole that the UK economy is in, that the onward march towards globalization, what the onward march towards globalization is putting us all through, the increasing cost of living, the various mandates which are going to be put forward with things like the pandemic treaty, and the increasing kind of strangulation that me and you as ordinary citizens of the Western world are experiencing as we go forward. Now, why virtue signaling? I'm going to focus on Kemi Badenoch. I listened to her speech. I was shocked. Shocked because on a 1 + 1 = 2 basis, this woman spoke nothing but pure, basic common sense. It was actually the most engaging leadership speech I have seen in ages for the fact that it dealt with the issues that we see on the ground. There was one big problem. The problem was the fact that Kemi Badenoch was speaking as if she lived in a monocultural society. Kemi Badenoch was speaking as if her entire audience was of white Brits. And in that way, she came across, presented extremely well. And I asked myself, why? The reason is quite very simple. Kemi is that thing that the Tory party can consider as the fig leaf that covers their many, many sins about racism, xenophobia, and so on, writ large by the outgoing leader of the Tory party, Boris Johnson. This is the man who was talking about black people having watermelon smiles. This was the person who called Muslim women in head coverings letterboxes. This was the person who said that the problem facing Africa was the fact that Britain left its colonies behind, and so on. Boris Johnson's casual disregard for the respect of people of non-white origin is written in neon lights, and all the people who are currently standing for the leadership supported him. So if they now find a candidate who is black, and you actually have to wonder why there's only one black candidate and the rest are all Asians, because the ratio of Asians to blacks is not 6-1. It may be 2-1, but the candidates who are of Asian origin are, well, effectively 6 times more than the candidate who is black. And it does make you think that by presenting Kemi Badenoch as a serious candidate, the Tory party is virtue signalling and saying, well, despite what our Prime Minister, who we fully supported till we discovered that he was going to be a liability at the polls, said about black folk and Muslim folk and so on, we're still not racist. So that's the first problem with this leadership campaign. Now, the next thing is exceptionalism. When I look at a person like Kemi Badenoch, bear in mind, I have said already that her campaign speech, the policies she was actually talking about, made an incredible amount of sense to me. And if it made sense to me, I'm sure that it'll make a lot of sense to many other fair-minded people. But the exceptionalism is that we, the electorate in Britain, will turn a blind eye to the fact that she happens to be black. Now, the only person who wins with that are people who have been racist in the past and need a fig leaf to cover their past record. Kemi Badenoch fits the bill to a T. And if we're talking about that kind of exceptionalism, do not ever expect a person in Kemi Badenoch's situation to speak up for, advocate for people who look like her or people who came from her Afro-Caribbean background. It would completely upset the apple cart. Don't forget, her greatest appeal, even though it should be the common sense, which to be honest, I haven't taken her seriously enough till now to realize that this woman, she's actually an engineer. Her mum's a doctor, her dad's a doctor. She's come from a background which, despite the story you'll hear about her flipping burgers to put herself through college, doesn't somehow stack up to me, but politicians do that sort of thing. So the idea that we will turn a blind eye to the fact that she is being hailed as a real and possible Tory candidate is a bit weird to me. It requires that we overlook the fact that if Kemi Badenoch became Prime Minister, it would be the single most retrograde step, as happened in the case of Barack Obama, in that people would always say, oh, you're only going on about diversity because of what you look like and what your ethnic origins are. Indeed, as the Minister for Equalities or Diversity, she was probably the most retrograde of all ministers I've seen in British politics. And purely and simply, I'm sure, because if she had been seen to be too much in advocacy for black folk, like teaching black history and that sort of thing on the official curriculum of the UK, which is sorely and long overdue, she would have been called out for being parochial in her views. The third thing is that if Kemi is allowed to live in denial of this flagrant truth and reality, again, not to take away her common sense, her ability, and so on and so forth, but we have to live in denial of the fact that this is a person who isn't here to serve everybody. This is a person who is here to assuage the guilt and the shame of those who in the past have been hideously racist. And so who would be the winners in that and who would be the losers? Of course, the winners would be the society, the wider society, which could say, oh, look, and we even entertain the idea of this black woman as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And God forbid, if she were to win, I mean, Britain would come out and say something like, well, any thoughts about colonialism and so on and so forth should be completely kicked to the curb because now we have a black prime minister. Now, we have to live in denial of all of these narratives which are playing very loudly and which everybody is looking at with their eyes wide shut. So finally, we come to the point. Kemi said that the truth shall set us free, and she's absolutely correct. Until in Britain we are prepared to call a spade, to look at the realities and to call them for what they are, and to grasp these realities and to deal with them for what they are, we have no way forward. Not only that, one of the things that the regressives who would prefer to control us all and curtail our liberties, one of the things that these people are counting on is our double standards. They are counting on our sense of hypocrisy to stop us standing up for what is true and what is right. Why? Because when you stand up for what is true and what is right, you have to, how can I put this? You have to confront your own demons. It's the most basic requirement for doing that piece of work. You have to confront who you are for real, not virtue signaling, not pretending your past isn't the past that you've had, not pretending that there are things that that you don't do, which you actually do every single day. The truth requires first that we confront who we are. Now, there is nothing more powerful than the individual who has done that work. You can't have a cast iron determination without first facing, challenging, and overcoming your own double standards, your own hypocrisy, your own weaknesses, your own demons. So good as dear old Kemi Badenoch appears to be, the only way we can elect such a person to her role is by pretending that we don't know what she represents. And what she represents is a fantasy of what UK life has been about, what UK life is now, and what UK life, well, we can't talk about the future because I'm actually quite positive that all of these things are going to change as we go forward. The truth is, it is only the truth that shall set us free. And the only way we can face the truth is by first facing and challenging our own demons. You don't have to tell anybody else. This is your own shadow work. This is your own effort at your own human reformation. Thanks very much for watching.